Hello, this is Jay with Guilty of Crime. And today I wanted to bring you, I have another one going. Sorry about that, everybody. Jay with Guilty of Crime. And today I'm bringing you Laken Riley. I'm not sure if anybody has heard about this, but that's why I wanted to bring it to you. It's in Augusta, Georgia. And when I saw this, I knew that I needed to bring it to you because it's really a political battle. And it shouldn't be a political battle, it should be about an actual murder. But it's not because the murder was a migrant from Venezuela that shouldn't have even been here in the first place, everybody. He literally shouldn't have been here. There are so many reasons that he should have been out of the country by now, and yet he's still here, and that still is able to happen. So I do want to tell you about the murder. I want to tell you about Laken Riley and use her name a lot so you know that this girl was out on a jog. She's a nursing student. She's 22 years old and she's out on a jog, and she gets brutally murdered by a migrant from Venezuela that shouldn't have even been here. So this turned into a political issue, and I don't blame anybody for turning it into that. And that's why I wanted to bring it. And I wanted to bring it earlier before somebody else saw this and brought it about, because it's pretty relevant to the true crime community on the way she was brutally attacked. And I'm going to go over that because I did find the affidavit. I couldn't find the PDF version of it to bring it and read it, but I have a better version, which is Vinnie Politan, that has it. And trigger warning for this case, everybody. It's brutal. This guy brutally murdered this 22-year-old nursing student. So I'm going to show you who she is. I'm going to give you a quick recap, show you the pictures of the murder. Jose Ibarra is his name. I don't want to use it too much, but most of the story seems to be about him because he shouldn't have been here in the first place. And there's several reasons why that I'm going to show you today. I wanted to do this and not make it too long, but at the same time, I just keep finding more information. So, wow, this is just a crazy case that I can't believe this morning I ran into and said, "Oh man, I got to share this." So, let's see who she is first, and then we'll go over everything else. So they make sure I am good here. You can see that. You can see me. All right. Now you can see her and you can see the murder, Jose Ibarra. Venezuela shouldn't have been here at all. So let me go over that. I'm going to go ahead and read that to you, what it's about, and then we'll watch clips of everything else that I have for you. Wow, this is a shitstorm, guys. It's a political firestorm, literally, is what it turned into. And I know why. So Laken Riley is a 22-year-old Augusta University College, or she's at a university college, and she's a nursing student who was out for a jog, very unsuspecting. Riley was set to graduate with a bachelor's in nursing in 2025. So she, was almost done. Look at this beautiful girl just minding her business at a college that should be safe. When you get Jose Antonio Ibarra, sometimes you'll hear different names that they call him. Sometimes it's Jose Ibarra, sometimes they use his middle name, but it's Jose Antonio Ibarra. Now listen to this. He entered the US illegally in 2022, and he lived in New York before moving to Georgia. ICE says. Now, you know who ICE is. Those are the people that take those people out of here. Now, I'm not one to get into politics, but you know what? I'm on the side of the Republicans at this point, because when they're saying this and they're using this as a campaign, hey, whatever's going to get the attention of people, right? So I don't want to get into politics and start saying Republicans, Democrats, whatever, but I will give them credit for this. We should not have these people in our country that shouldn't be here doing these crimes. This is brutal. So ICE says he wasn't, shouldn't even have been here. The Venezuelan migrant charged with murdering Laken Riley allegedly, trigger warning, beat her so brutally with an unidentified object that he disfigured her skull, according to the new affidavits, which we're going to listen to in a bit. Now, Republicans, including former President Donald Trump and Georgia Government Brian Kemp, have used the killing to attack the immigration policies of President Biden. And I have coming up an actual letter that Governor Brian Kemp sent to Biden. It's great. I can't believe I found that. Georgia Democratic Senate Minority Leader Gloria Butler called the Republican response to Riley's death appalling, saying that the GOP is to blame for scuttling a bill in Congress that would have toughened immigration enforcement. And I agree here. We should have definitely kept all those people as far away from us as we can and make it hard for them to get in. So now Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, faces multiple murder and assault charges. It's not thought that he knew the 22-year-old nursing student when he allegedly, get this, his charges are kidnapping right now, and killed her as she went for a run on the University of Georgia campus on Thursday. Her cause of death had only been given as blunt force trauma, with new charging documents accusing Ibarra of causing great bodily harm with an object. We don't know yet. I'm not sure, without specifying exactly what it was. But the suspect was also charged with aggravated battery for seriously disfiguring her body. So can you imagine what she looks like by disfiguring her skull? According to the affidavit shared by Fox News. I couldn't find it on there. I looked. It just led me to a bunch of stuff. So I found it though. Ibarra is also charged with preventing Riley from making or completing a 911 call. So she did try that, and still with intent to harm when he allegedly snatched her during her run, the affidavit says. I make sure everybody's still here. Hey, Juror 13. Hey, Carly. I knew this was kind of early to do this, but I really wanted to get this case out there. So thank you for being here and supporting me. I don't mind talking to myself sometimes, though. All right. So the suspect faces 8 charges, including felony murder, false imprisonment, and kidnapping, and concealing the death of another. Authorities said there's no evidence he knew Riley. Additional details about the type of object used or exactly how she was killed were not included in the affidavits, which were filed in Athens, Clark County Superior Court, which I did look up and I couldn't find anything. The attack took place between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Thursday, according to the documents. Check this out now. Last year, Ibarra twice slipped through the hands of law enforcement and could have been deported after a bust in the Big Apple, New York. He was arrested in Queens on August 31st and charged with endangering a child, but was released before immigration officials could file a request to ask local cops to hold him in custody, authorities said on Monday. Ibarra also was wanted on an arrest warrant in Georgia for blowing off a shoplifting court appearance in December, according to the U.S. Rep. Houston Gaines in Georgia. ICE confirmed what we already knew. Jose Ibarra was in the country illegally. He was illegally here, Gaines posted on X Monday. What the media hasn't reported was that he was cited in Athens for shoplifting in October, and there was a bench warrant for his arrest for failing to show in court. Now, most of you know those aren't serious charges at all. So the shoplifting is not a serious charge, and you can typically walk away from that. But endangering a child and ICE knowing that he was here illegally, and President Biden and the whole Democratic Party pushing for immigrants, migrants, those people to get out of our country, stay out, not come back, and not be harsh on them when they do so. Hey, Sadie's mama. So this is why this terrible murder made it to these type of headlines. It's not just about her. It's not just about Laken Riley. And I really hope that if we get anything out of her death, that we get some, first of all, justice. Second of all, I hope he gets sent back to his country. And third, we get stricter rules at some point. Now it is political. So there she is. There he is. And then I saw an ad there that said, "Did President Biden fail borders? The border policies causing UGA nursing student Laken Riley to get murdered." Think about that. If they had deported him, if they had not let him in, if they would have taken him for his other charges, she would have never gotten murdered. So I'm showing you pictures of them, young girl, 22 years old. Here's this monster. And it wasn't just this. I mean, he was a monster. Uh he was just a monster in plain sight. So he has some charges against him, and it's hard for me to read that, but felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. So they charged him with the most that they could. Here's him here trying to fit in with everybody else, being a migrant and not supposing to be in this country. Plain monster inside. There's Laken Riley doing her thing at college, and there's the people that are mourning for her. So don't forget, everybody, you might not like the things that are happening, but please like this content and share it. And please subscribe to my channel if you're out here lurking and you haven't. I heard a few people today telling me in person that they were watching my channel and they just didn't want to get in the comments and mess me up. But you will not mess me up in the comments. So comment away, please. So now we know. Let's not focus completely on this guy only because we will get more into it, but I want to show you a little bit about who she was. Then I'm going to read, or not read, I'm going to show you the affidavit being read so you can see some of the gruesome things. Again, trigger warning for this case. She was beat and she's probably unrecognizable. So let's show you a little 2-minute clip about who she is so we can remember her and remember the things that are happening in this country when people say, "Oh, immigrants should be here and we should help them and keep them in." You know what? Case by case. But when you know somebody's a monster and you know somebody's doing crimes, get them out of here. Don't let them in. When you find them, get them out. Don't waste our money and don't let them kill our people. Unbelievable. All right, let's show you a little bit about who she. Why is there no volume? Hmm, interesting. I can't hear that. Hold on. Let me cancel that. Some reason I can't hear that. Hopefully you guys can hear me, but I have no idea why that's not playing. That was happening earlier, and oh, it says my browser has blocked the screen. Hmm, interesting. I don't know what happened there. Let's hope that I can fix this. Yeah, there should be a bond. There shouldn't be a bond at all, first of all. And let me try to close some of these things out so that I can get back to this. I don't really know what happened here. Can everybody see me okay? It looks like they can. Hmm. Let's see. Yeah, there does have to be a no bond, hopefully. And but still, the whole point is he shouldn't have been in here in the first place. So why is this not playing?
Her daughter works in Athens.
Anjali Proctor continues our live team coverage for us live from River Ridge High School. Anjali, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon
I'm
to you,
assuming
Eric. We have
that you guys
learned that
can't hear
Laken
this,
was a
correct?
scholar
You don't hear
athlete,
anything,
and she
right?
loved running. She participated in both cross
Interesting.
country
Can somebody
and
let me
track
know?
here
I
at
don't
River
think you can
Ridge
hear
High
this because
School.
I can't hear it at all.
We were heartbroken.
I can't hear
because
anything
we have a
right
daughter
now,
that could very well be in that situation.
and I have no
Our
idea
heart goes
why.
out to the family. I just can't even imagine.
Neighbors are
All
still
right,
in
let me
disbelief in the sanctuary.
stop sharing this. I'll pull this down. And why am I having trouble hearing anything? Oh, you can hear it? You can hear me, but I was playing a video and I couldn't hear anything. And it said something about blocking. So let's see if I can pull this up and we can hear it. Nothing. I can't hear anything. I have no idea why. Hmm. Let's see. Nope. Why can't I hear it? All right. I don't know what happened.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm not on
in the
mute.
state of Georgia,
That's
the Athens area. There's incredible heartbreak. There is incredible sadness.
If I can't hear it,
There is
guys.
some simmering anger. And it all involves the murder
You guys can
of
hear the
Laken
video?
Riley. There she is. She was a nursing student. Think about
I don't
this.
hear
Think
anything.
about what a nursing student is. It's a young person who is taking their time to learn how to help others and wants to dedicate her profession to helping others. That's what she wanted to do. That's who she was. And she was taken in a brutal, brutal fashion. I want you to take a listen to the sorority president. She was a member of Alpha Chi Omega. And the sorority president spoke.
I can hear it now.
About Laken. They had a vigil the other day. Let's take a listen.
Campus is really heavy right now. We're all heartbroken. I want to use this time to tell you about Laken and all she was to Alpha Chi. It is so obvious to me why it feels so dark right now, and that is because we lost one of the brightest lights that there's ever been. This campus and our sisterhood will never be the same without Laken Riley. I take pride in the caliber of women that we have in Alpha Chi. Our sisterhood is so incredibly strong, and I know that together we will get through this. When you were initiated in Alpha Chi Omega, which Laken was in the fall of 2020, you agreed to uphold our values of wisdom, devotion, and achievement. These three words are something that came so naturally to Laken. She showed incredible wisdom throughout her friendships. Many sisters have shared that she was the best listener. She would allow you to ramble on about how your day was or how your life had been lately, and she soaked it up intently. Her wisdom flowed throughout all aspects of her life as she had an eye for those who were secretly struggling. Another sister shared a story on how, on their first date night as Alpha Chi's, this particular sister was struggling to make friends and to find her place. In front of everyone, Laken embraced her and asked if she wanted a photo. That happened nearly 4 years ago, and it still had such an impact on her. She exuded devotion with each and everything that she did. A devoted Christian, sister, student, daughter, and friend. Whether it was nursing school, being the Alpha Chi banner chair, or the incredible runner that she was, Laken showed devotion throughout every avenue of her life. Doing something halfway was just never an option. Finally, Laken showed achievement as the sister shared that she had more drive than anyone that they knew. She was devoted to making this world a better place, and we have no doubt that she would have been an incredible nurse. It is absolutely earth-shattering to think that the world will never have that opportunity, but the impact that she made within her 22 years was enough to last a lifetime and beyond. We have no clue why things like this happen. I'm the first to question why. I've chosen to change my view of this and to know that we were given these people at this time for a reason. Tell your friends that you love them and never miss an opportunity for a sweet treat, one of Laken's favorite pastimes, and scream the lyrics to your favorite song as loud as you can. Be kind. Catch up with your friends. And strive to be the type of person that Laken was, where sister shared, even if you hadn't seen her in a while, it was like no time had passed at all. Although the flowers in our house will fade, the visitors will slow, and we will begin classes again, our hearts will always ache without Laken, who was such an integral part of our sisterhood. I want to share a quote that Alpha Chi shares during our recruitment process, and something that we're holding on to tight during this time. Our bond is strong here, It stretches far, it stretches wide, and it lasts a lifetime. Our sisterhood is shared from far and wide, heaven and earth side. In Laken.
Okay, so you could see it's affected a lot of people here. They're going to go on about the death and what's happened, but I didn't want to play that one. I wanted to play the Vinnie Politan one with the affidavit and get a little more into it, and then we can go back if everything works here and I'm not having malfunctions. Don't know what happened, but really want to share this and talk about how the governor sent Biden a letter specifically about this case. That doesn't happen very often, especially for something like this for one person, but they're very serious about it. And I get that. Man, I'm heated that this even happened. So let's put this one on with Vinnie Politan, and I will mute myself so you don't have an echo.
There's incredible heartbreak. There is incredible sadness, and there is some simmering anger. And it all involves the murder of Laken Riley. There she is. She was a nursing student. Think about this. Think about what a nursing student is. It's a young person who is taking their time to learn how to help others and wants to dedicate her profession to helping others. That's what she wanted to do. That's who she was. And she was taken in a brutal, brutal fashion. I want you to take a listen to the sorority president. She was a member of Alpha Chi Omega. And the sorority president spoke about Laken. They had a vigil the other day. Let's take a listen.
Campus is really heavy right now. We're all heartbroken.
And of the heartbreak and the sadness.
Yeah, we heard that.
That simmering anger I'm talking about, that's coming from a lot of the parents who send their children to that school and are wondering, how does something like this happen? And you know, that anger is pointing in a lot of different directions tonight. I want to go through so you understand where this took place, because I think that's a big part of this story and will be a big part of the trial of this accused murderer. We begin where it's all taking place, the eastern part of the campus of, they call it UGA, it's the University of Georgia, home of the Bulldogs. It's the eastern part of the campus. Now, last Thursday morning, Laken told a friend that she was going for a run, and she was going to go to the intramural fields, and that's the area that she went to, and you can see where the intramural fields are right there. She never came back from that run. Now, next to the intramural fields is a body of water. Lake Herrick is right there. You'll see it just below the intramural fields on the one side and to the side of it there. It was behind this lake where Laken's body was found around 12:38 in the afternoon, just 20 minutes after police started their search. And she was found in a secluded section of the Oconee Forest Park. And police say she was killed nearby and dragged there. We can take a look at Oconee Forest Park is right there. That's the area. So you can see the field.
You see this kind of stuff that happens in broad daylight. I mean, this is middle of the day. You should be able to go out and take a jog and be okay and come back and not have this stuff happen and feel safe in your own country, that you're not going to have people in this country that shouldn't be here and that should have been gone a long time ago or should never have been let in here. So I can feel where the anger is coming from and how it got into politics and how it's now Republicans versus Democrats with all of the elections coming up, and the governor writing Biden a letter about this specific case. It's crazy. I really hope that her death brings some justice for the next girl that should never have come into contact with an immigrant.
fields, the lake, and the park are all right next to one another. Now, here's the significant part about the park. There are several dirt pathways that students will commonly run on. And it's here where they say Laken was attacked and killed. And you can see those little pathways in the park, and that's where you would go running. We now know who the suspect is. I'll show you his picture. If you want to know his name, you can look it up. I'm not going to tell you. The charges against this man are malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, false imprisonment, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. Now, I want to go back to the maps because this is significant and show you where he was living with his brother, okay? The apartment complex. It's the Cielo Azulac Apartments, and we'll take a look at those. We'll have it in just a moment for you folks. And where these apartments are, very close to the area I was showing you. It's just five-minute walk. Just walk over the train tracks and you're there on these pathways where Laken was jogging and where others were jogging. So here we are back on the map. And to the left, you'll see the apartment complex right there. You can see how close it is. So that's where he's living with his brother. He had been living up in New York, got in trouble in New York. So of course he fled, coward, came down to Georgia to wreak more havoc. I thought he was here to seeking asylum, but apparently not so. Now, I've got details related to the accusations here from the arrest. Committed kidnapping, abduct, steal another person without lawful authority, and holding that person against her will. Holding her against her will. Aggravated assault. This is
There's the
important.
affidavit,
Assault
guys.
with the intent to murder by causing great bodily harm with an object. What was that object? What was that object? Aggravated battery, maliciously caused bodily harm to another by seriously disfiguring her body or a member thereof by disfiguring her skull. Next one also tells you a lot about what was happening at the scene. Hinder a 911 call, physically prevent or hindering another person with intent to cause physical harm from making or completing a 911 call. She was trying to get help. She knew she was in trouble. She knew she was in trouble, was trying to get help. Concealed the death of another, dragging that victim to a secluded area. All right, let's go through some of these details. We bring in my special guest joining us tonight in Jacksonville, Alabama, distinguished scholar of applied forensics, host of the Body Bags podcast, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan. And I know this one hits you really hard, Joseph, with your connections to Georgia and your connections to college campuses and, you know, being a dad and a grandfather and everything else. What details learned with you about what happened and what evidence there might be to help convict this accused murderer?
I find this language very interesting that you've detailed out, Ben. I think probably, and some people might be shocked by me saying this, but the most interesting piece to this for me is this interference with a 911 call. That goes to a bigger picture, doesn't it? That means that she was alive. That means that she was purposed in trying to make that call, and in some way she was hindered. And so we can frame this kidnapping element to this. We don't kidnap the dead. That's not part of it. You have to be a living person in order to be kidnapped. So there was an awareness on Laken's part that this was going down. That might be rather obvious, but I don't think it is. It's not like he
Now, quickly, for those who might have chimed in a little late, what they're talking about are the charges for this murder. Now, he didn't just get charges for murder, he got kidnapping, aggravated assault, stopping her from a 911 call. There was a whole list of them, and you can go back and watch. You can go back and watch, and that I also told you his previous charges, but this is all from the one murder that he did. And luckily, folks, they caught him. This could be a case right now that we're talking about. We're talking about finding the killer, and we're not talking about finding the killer. We're talking about who the killer is. They didn't say his name. I told you it's Jose Antonio Ibarra from Venezuela, and I'll show you who he is after and why he shouldn't have been here at all. But no, all of these charges, and this guy's right. An interesting thing is she tried to call 911, and he stopped her, and then he beat her for no reason. He didn't know her.
Snuck up from the rear and struck her and killed her at that moment in time. There was something going on. There was probably an interaction. She had an awareness, at least enough an awareness to try to facilitate a 911 call. And then, of course, his activities after that, we can kind of begin to understand the curtains part a little bit here, because now we've got this idea of assault, and they're talking about to do grievous bodily harm to her, and this element of disfigurement that we're talking about. Interesting language here. They talk about an object. Well, I guess anything could be a bludgeoning object. We do know that this had to be blunt force trauma. The coroner said that a few days ago, where that individual had alluded to the cause of death, that it was blunt force trauma. Now we have an object involved. I think that myself and a few of my colleagues roundabout have thought about this and scratched our head, and we were wondering, did he show up with a tool like a hammer or a pipe or a piece of wood? Or was it like the chief had said, or the mayor, I can't remember which one, they talked about this being a crime of opportunity, Vin. When you talk about a crime of opportunity, that is an event where you don't necessarily show up as prepared as someone would have, say, if they had, we've talked about murder kits before and that sort of thing. It's almost like something was at his fingertips that he was reaching for, that he grabbed, perhaps a rock. We don't know, but we do know that she was greatly traumatized to the point where they discuss this in this data that they've released. I don't know that I've seen this kind of wording before like this, outside of the courtroom setting. I think that this is kind of intriguing here. The one element that's missing here, Vin, and I think you and I could probably talk about this for hours, perhaps. What would have been his motivation to steal her phone? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop it for a second because that's a good question. All of us sit there and speculate all the time on all of these channels that we're on. What's the motivation? There really is no motivation sometimes for anything that somebody does that's pure evil. I think they just have it in their heads that they want to do something. They get the opportunity. Maybe there's not people around. Maybe he saw this girl and thought she was really pretty, and she didn't give him the time of day. She called 911, so she saw him, and she had enough of a forethought to call 911. So who knows? Maybe he tried to pick up on her. You saw him earlier dressed up, ready to go out. Maybe he was trying to get a date with her. Maybe he wanted to walk with her, and she said no, and he attacked her. But I don't think we're going to find a solid motive in this case. And if he does go to trial, I definitely will cover it. But I have a feeling that he might take a plea deal on this one. I'm not sure if Georgia has a death penalty, but this is pretty savage. And also, they're going to do it here in the United States, right? They're not going to send him to Venezuela and do any of that there. They're going to take care of it here. So we all get to pay our taxes and pay taxes for this trial or whatever he decides to do. I don't think there was a real motive. Let's listen to what he has to say.
No, to to interact with her? No, I mean, the motivation for me that he singled out this diminutive little college student, this young lady. I think it's a sexually motivated event. But yet we're not seeing anything that's indicative of that in the information that the court has released or that the law enforcement personnel have released to this point to allude to some kind of sexual assault. And as time goes by, we're going to learn more. I can guarantee you. I want to know more about the status of her clothing and what they saw. And also one more thing, and I'll be quiet. I'm interested because, you know, they hooked this guy up pretty quickly on charges, Finn. I'm wondering what type of insults he has sustained to his body. Is there evidence of a struggle on him? I saw this mugshot that was released of this individual. And, you know, many times what we think about when you have someone that is resisting, you're going to see scratches along the neck, the face, and that sort of thing. And right now, I'm not really seeing that. I wonder, hopefully, I'm hoping that when they did hook him up, that they took good photos of his hands, both the ventral aspect and the palmar aspect, and up and down his arms, Finn, to see if there's anything there whatsoever.
Absolutely. Joseph Scott Morgan, appreciate your time and your insight tonight. Obviously, we'll continue to cover this with you and go into even more detail as we learn more from this investigation. Thanks so much. Let's bring in our think tank. Join us in Columbia, South Carolina, criminal defense attorney and lawyer Lori on TikTok. Lori Murray is with us. In Los Angeles, California,
So we're going to have a little more discussion on this. It's a pretty serious case, everybody. It didn't just make it to the Georgia campus and we didn't hear about it and it went away. These people are all affected by it. And my whole point of the video was Republicans versus Democrats at this point. With the elections coming up, they're very upset that this happened. The college is upset, the governor's upset, the mayor's upset, and they're writing to Biden. So after this, I want to play a quick video of, it's like a 2-minute video of the killer, Ibarra, Jose Ibarra. And then I wanted to show you that I want to show you the letter that they wrote to Biden to, you know, essentially they're blaming him for his policy and how lenient he's being. This is a crazy case that I hope that I can keep following because this is not by far over.
Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé, and in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Michael Sterling. Talk on something I thought was important that we don't really know yet, and how important will it be, which is the motive in this case, or the alleged motive, obviously, as we move towards trial. What are your thoughts there?
I think it's the glaring, absence of this motive that is just the most disturbing of anything, because if not, it's just a random act of violence. If there's no motive, you automatically assume it's sexually motivated, and it's going to be very important, I think. I don't know what evidence they have against this guy. I just know that there's got to be some reason for us to all make sense of this madness.
Philip Dubé, to make the arrest this quickly, my guess is there's a lot of evidence, and including some videos, et cetera, surveillance videos from around the campus, perhaps near his apartment complex as well. From your perspective, what is the biggest unknown at this time?
The motive. We can look to behavioral clues in the evidence itself and in the charging documents, and I just have a sneaky suspicion that he saw her taking her morning jog, and there was nothing nefarious going through his mind at the time, but he found her attractive and maybe even tried to hit on her, tried to strike up a conversation. She kept running, wasn't interested, but he followed anyway, and maybe she got scared. And she was afraid that she was being pursued and took that phone to call 911. And in his mind, we see this so often, Vinny, especially out here in LA with our undocumented clients. They are so afraid of going into immigration custody and being deported that they do whatever they can to eliminate the object, if you will, of their oppression in that moment. It's certainly not a legal defense, but it explains the behavior as to why they would resort to such a violent, hideous act. The thought of going back to their homeland because of a misunderstanding after being drawn or attracted to a young girl is frightening to a lot of our undocumented clients. And I just have a feeling that more and more is going to come out about that. I seriously doubt that this crime was sexually and property motivated, meaning it was not an attempt to rob the girl or take her valuables in any way. I mean, let's face it, what is she going to have on her person during a morning jog? Nobody's going to have anything of value unless there is some type of intrinsic value in the phone itself. But I'll be curious to see what led police to him. I have a feeling it has something to do with her phone.
And let's not forget, he ran away from New York after he got in trouble up there as well. So he knew getting in trouble again. This reminds me of what you just described was the Molly Tibbetts case.
Yes.
The same exact case where man approaches woman wants nothing to do with him, runs away from him, and he's not taking no for an answer, and he gets physical. Michael Sterling, you're in Georgia. Walk us through how this thing's going to play out.
Yeah, Vinny, I was actually in Athens, Clark County Court this morning throughout most of the day handling a separate matter. And it's all anybody was talking about in the community, at the coffee shops, inside of the courtroom. It's all anybody could talk about. So the community is, extremely impacted by this incident. So what will happen next? Obviously, he will get appointed a lawyer. He'll be formally arraigned. Clark County Courthouse, as me and some of the other lawyers talked about this morning, has had some difficulties with their staffing, but I'm sure this case will get top priority. They will do everything they can to bring this case to justice. They'll probably put their best top prosecutors in Clark County on this matter. And what will happen in short order is he'll be formally arraigned. Likely he'll have a bond hearing. Very unlikely that he'll get a bond. One, considering his undocumented status, and then considering the nature and circumstances of the crime.
Yeah, I think we're kind of hearing the same thing over and over. So I'd rather have my own opinion on this and take what they're saying and listen to what you're saying. And yeah, they all had quite a bit. It was a little different, but it's all pretty much the same. I think it had something to do with him aggressing her in a sexual way and her not wanting it. And obviously he didn't want to witness. So either I don't see scratch marks on his face, and we haven't seen his hand. So we don't know if she fought back towards him or what. I can't make that assumption, but I know that he didn't want to go back to his country, and he certainly didn't want to get arrested. So I do think that if he didn't go out there specifically in the middle of the day, which seems like unlikely that he would go out in the middle of the day looking for someone to approach. I think he came across her. He approached her. She didn't want his advances, and he had to eliminate her, and he used anything that he could to do so. So yeah, he was already in trouble in New York and also in Georgia. He had like some petty theft, and he had a bench warrant for that, which is not a big deal. He could have stole the soda at the store and had a bench warrant, and it's easy to just get out of there. And as long as you don't come back to Georgia, you're never going to get in trouble for that. But he had more serious charges in New York. So let's see really quickly, because I do have who he is. Let's hope I pull up the right one. I'm having a little internet trouble today for some reason. Hold on. And let's go back. Mostly trouble with my headphones, and I don't know why, because I love those things. All right, let's see who he is. What do we know about him?
Jail charged with Laken Riley's murder. He is from Venezuela, and according to ICE, he entered the country illegally in 2022 and was later paroled. 11 Alive's Rebecca Lindstrom joining us now in studio.
So, Rebecca, a lot of folks want to know, did Ibarra did he fall through the cracks? Was he even supposed to be up in Athens in the first place when that crime occurred?
Well, from what I can tell, if everyone had followed procedures, the answer is no. There are at least 2 points in time that really could have made a difference. According to Homeland Security, Jose Ibarra and his wife entered the U.S. near El Paso in September 2022. After being arrested and released, they went to New York. At that time, immigration attorney Pamela Peinado says Venezuelans had special protective status in the U.S.
It could be political unrest, it could be a national disaster, etc. But we're basically allowing these individuals to stay here for a temporary amount of time because it's unsafe to send them back to their home country.
But in an interview with the New York Post, Ibarra's wife says that before their immigration hearing, Jose was arrested for riding a moped with their 5-year-old son while doing food deliveries. Neither were wearing a helmet. At that point, ICE could have taken Jose into custody, but it says he was released before that could happen. The DA's office in Queens has refused to answer our questions, even denying the case exists. After his release, Jose headed to Athens, where his brother was now living. He was only here for about a month when they were both accused of shoplifting from Walmart. According to the police report, the two allegedly stole food and clothes. They were given a citation and let go. A spokesperson with the Athens Clark County Police told me immigration status is handled during the booking process at the jail. And since they weren't arrested, that check was on. But Jose's brother had been arrested the month before on a DUI charge.
When someone is in an agency or in a detention facility that communicates with ICE, ICE will go pick them up. They usually have about 48 to 72 hours to do so.
The Department of Justice says it didn't know about the DUI arrest until last week, after Laken Riley was killed. I have reached out to the sheriff's office to explain what happened, but have not received a response. Now, ICE is aware of both brothers. I am told Diego Ibarra, the one arrested for DUI and then later for having that fake green card, will be in court tomorrow morning. If he is granted bond, ICE will likely take him into custody. Now, we have heard a lot of talk about sanctuary cities, and today the mayor said Athens is a welcoming city, but follows immigration law, so it's all going to depend on what we learn from the sheriff's office.
So you see how the pressure is coming down on the mayor, the city, the people, ICE. It's coming down. The tension has become national because of this, and that should have never happened. So keep that in mind that, Laken Riley would still be alive if that wasn't the case, if they would have got rid of him when they should have. We kind of saw how he got to the U.S., and I'm wondering if there's I want to show you that the mayor blasted Biden. I'm going to show you this so that I could segue into the letter, and then we'll call it. It'll probably be about coming up in an hour. So let me show you the mayor blasting Biden and this becoming political. Hold on. And I'm not into politics, but this is this is something else.
Mayor Gertz. Hey, Jeff. Hey, good morning, everyone. Appreciate your willingness to gather here today. So I'm going to share some information along with the chief, with the press, and the public at large. I'll begin by noting that we're all grieving the loss of Laken Riley, just as we've grieved so many tragedies over the years here in Athens. Each one of these is a reminder of our collective failure to be where we wish to be as a community and a society. Our anger at these murders and other criminal activities will drive us to continue to improve our community's safety as we've been pursuing.
Don't worry, we're not going to watch the whole thing.
I empathize with the frustration and anger so many are feeling right now. Chief and I are parents who've raised children in this town, who pour our heart and our souls into our work as parents. And I can't imagine the grieving of this family and their loved ones. Any murder in this community is a tragedy, but particularly when we see young lives cut short, it means that the blossoming that we've expected for our own children is not going to bear fruit for this family. So as a parent and as a career educator, this is a traumatizing experience. I do want to say I appreciate the collaborative work of the University of Georgia Police Department, of the Athens Clarke County Police Department.
Okay, so I don't want to show that whole video. It's too long right now for this live, and it's a little in and out of being boring and getting too political. But this is a political case, so I do want you to know that. I'm going to play the last of this and the details. We've got 5 gut-wrenching details of the case that should keep you a little more engaged before you hop on to your next thing. I'll show you quickly the letter that went out to Biden, and hopefully we can get more immigrants out of this country that are, especially the ones that are committing crimes and then just getting let go. Again, I don't want anybody not to want to follow my channel because they think that, I'm against that. I'm American, from America. My family is. I'm Hispanic, but that has nothing to do with any of that. All my family's legal here. I just don't want illegal criminals here, let alone criminals. So let me show you the 5 gut-wrenching things about the case, and then I'll show you the letter really quickly, and then I'll let you get off to your next thing, and I'll do so as well. Yeah, there definitely should be penalties for government organizations and their slips through the cracks, but they're never going to take responsibility for it because they're going to say that they are putting policies in place and that they were being sensitive to some people. So they're never going to take responsibility for it, but I wish they did. Oh boy, do I wish they did. Never going to happen though, unfortunately. So let's watch this quickly and then we'll get on to our lives.
Nursing student Laken Riley as the media blasts Republicans for daring to bring up the border crisis over it. Police reports revealing how the 22-year-old was beaten so badly. She suffered a, quote, disfigured skull. Her body was then reportedly dragged to a secluded area. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022. And as the nation debates the broken border, the liberal press would rather accuse Republicans of using Riley's death for political reasons.
See?
Republicans obviously seizing on this horrific tragedy at the University of Georgia. They're seizing on this as an example of Biden's failure to protect the American people and to secure the border.
Riley's death igniting a political firestorm. State House Speaker John Burns indicating that the Georgia House this week will take steps on illegal immigration.
As if the initial facts were not horrifying enough or the sense of loss not deep enough by now, and all of it has now been compounded by the revelation the suspect was in this country unlawfully, and how quickly that fact became politicized.
The Democrats are back. California Congresswoman Katie Porter says it's important we don't make too much out of this one innocent girl's murder.
One should shape our overall immigration policy, which has so many different facets, including economic choices about what workers to allow in and how to create prosperity. So the situation is tragic and it's a loss. It's important to acknowledge that, but also to recognize of immigration policy fit together.
But let's not look too far into it and don't change anything based on this poor innocent girl's murder. Jesse?
So much seizing. I want to be careful. I don't want to seize on this story or politicize this story. I hate to talk politics. This is what they do. They turn a policy disaster, a fatal disaster.
And see, that's what I was trying not to do, but I also wanted to bring it to the true crime community so that first of all, the name Laken Riley and how badly she was beaten and murdered, and see what they're doing with it. But if it does help any policies, then I'm okay with that.
Into a process crime by Republicans. This is what they do. They don't want to talk about the sanctuary policy. They don't want to talk about the broken border. They want to talk about Republicans reacting. And then it becomes something that they're not on defense anymore. Now they're on offense. Now it's Republicans are politicizing. And this is how they get away with not solving any problems. The One woman in the soundbite, she was aghast that Georgia Republicans may take steps on illegal immigration. Oh my goodness, you mean they might take steps to stop illegal immigration? They call that a political firestorm. Everybody else in the country calls it solving problems. And then Porter, we're not trying to trade economic growth for death. That's not the calculation. We still want immigration. That's fine. We just don't want illegal immigration. And we definitely don't want to keep illegal alien felons in the country so they can continue to commit crimes.
Well, Judge, that lawmaker might want to make this out to be just one instance, but there are many instances in latest in Virginia where a minor was assaulted by another Venezuelan illegal immigrant.
Katie Porter should know Katie Porter, although a congresswoman in California, is originally from Iowa. What happened in Iowa? Molly Tibbetts was killed in Iowa. So she actually has the gall to go on television and say, one instance shouldn't shape overall policy. Are you kidding me? The overall policy of this country is to protect its citizens. It is the number one obligation of any nation to protect its citizens. And she's on there complaining that people are demanding that problems like this be solved. First of all, you had Molly Tibbetts, you had Kaylee Hamilton, you had Elizabeth Medina, and that's only in the past couple of years that I could think of without researching it. Not to mention the angel moms during the Trump administration, all of the mothers whose kids were killed by illegals, and President Trump tried to get the numbers of those to collect them, and there are certain states that wouldn't go along with collecting that information. So, you know, the liberals, I mean, as soon as someone dies from a gun, they call for gun control. But as soon as someone is murdered by an illegal, they never call for border control. They're not into that at all. But, you know, once Bragg in this city let the Venezuelans loose, right? And they end up going to, I think it's Arizona. Then Randall's Island, they start attacking the cops. And then you've got the Venezuelan in Virginia who just sexually assaulted a cop. The Venezuelans in Chicago, 4 of them who chose.
I hope you guys are learning something right now. I know this is a true crime channel, but true crime is crossing with politics right now. And she just named off a whole bunch of cases where there are murders and how they crossed over and how gun control can be called for when somebody does a shooting or shoots something up. But border control doesn't happen when somebody that comes over the border kills somebody. So it is a political thing in a way, but we still want to focus on Laken Riley. That needs to be remembered in the true crime community and what has happened, and also make aware what can happen at 12:38 in the afternoon while you're jogging. Please remember this. I want to finish this video and then we'll get on with it.
Choked the guy and robbed him. I mean, this is only in the last couple of days. It's time that we stop the process. You can do it under the law. It's section 212F of Title 8 of the Immigration Law. He can stop it. It's time that we recognize number one, we have to take fingerprints of every illegal, fingerprints with a photograph. And I'm going to do you one better. If we don't take DNA from these illegals who are all claiming asylum, so at least we at some point will know that they are who they say they are, because they can make up any name coming into this country. Plus, if we have a database with illegals in that database, we can match up crimes that are unsolved going forward in the criminal justice system. And the bottom line is, until we know who they are, until we can identify them, they should not be allowed in this country. There are too many crimes that have been committed, too many lives have been taken, and too many families have been destroyed. And to let people in about whom we know nothing. And we've got 7.2 million. And how many known gotaways and unknown gotaways? Now, why are they gotaways? Yes. Because they got away because they don't want to be identified, because they are criminals. There are criminals in the mix. I want to know who the pedophile is, who the batterer is, who's drunk and drives, who's an identity thief. They're in this group.
Yet the media says the real problem are Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, don't you guys understand that only Anderson Cooper can talk about this issue? Only Jake Tapper can talk about this issue. No one else can.
All right, maybe it's getting a little too political. It is really getting political. That's why I wanted to bring it to you. It's crazy. And the internet's really bad right now. I wanted to share other videos and do some stuff with you all, but my headphones stopped working, the internet was going slow. I don't know what happened, but yeah, they definitely are making the Laken Riley case into something big. So I hope that we see the most amount of justice. And yeah, some of your comments aren't going through. I can see that it's cutting out, and it's too bad because I really wanted to talk with you guys more. And yeah, most people don't watch mainstream news, and they like YouTube because we can bring our own ideas to what's happening and bring the cases in, talk about it. This is getting really political, and that's why I brought it. But I don't want to go into all the Anderson Cooper and the Democrats and Republicans, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm on either side. Yes, I'm from California, but you know what? I love my guns. I'll tell you that much. That's I got a lot of things that I take both sides of. So yeah, these are getting, we're talking about GOP seizing on student murder. They're going a little crazy there. So we'll stop that so that we aren't watching too much of the just of this. I want to show you the letter really quickly, and modding and trying to post. Yeah, I need to hardwire this computer. I have more in my office, and in my office I have a hardwire, but I like being out here. Right now the internet, I don't know what's the problem, but let me show you this the letter, and that will give you a good idea of how freaking political they got. I can't believe they wrote Biden a letter about this, and I thought I would show it here and mix it with the true crime instead of being the way they're acting. So I don't want to talk about Anderson Cooper. Let's look at it really quickly. Look at this. All right, so it's the state of Georgia, and it's Brian Kemp, like I told you earlier, and he's writing to Joseph R. Biden, the President of the United States. He says, Mr. President, as I've stated many times in the past, your actions and those of the administration have resulted in every state in the country experiencing disastrous impacts of unsecured U.S. southern borders. More than 9 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border since you took office, with an additional unknown number of migrants who were not detained and processed. Okay, while at least 58 people on the terror watch list have been encountered between ports of entry this fiscal year alone, moreover, nearly 2,000 pounds of fentanyl, and he's right, and 5,000 pounds of methamphetamines were seized at the border in just the month of January. In addition to the serious national security implications of the crisis, the increased burden on the state and local resources is not only unsustainable, it also presents a clear and present danger to our citizens and communities. While the dangers of this crisis have never been theoretical, this week our state witnessed a devastating tragedy. Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University and beloved member of our University of Georgia UGA community, was found dead near UGA's East Campus intramural fields on Thursday. After her death had been ruled a homicide, state and local labor enforcement coordinated on identifying, locating, and arresting the suspected murder. This coordinated effort resulted in the arrest of Jose Antonio Ibarra, a Venezuelan national, on multiple charges, including malice murder. It has been revealed by the United States Department of Justice that the investigation into Laken Riley's murder also resulted in the arrest of his older brother, Diego Ibarra, if you guys didn't catch that earlier, on charges of possessing fraudulent U.S. permanent resident cards. Furthermore, we'll see how long this is. Despite having been arrested on multiple occasions since September 2023, the charges range from driving under the influence of shoplifting. Here you go, people that didn't know. Your Department of Justice has confirmed that Diego Ibarra has been released back into the community while his asylum claims are being processed. This past September, I joined 24 governors in writing you a letter requesting accurate, detailed, thorough data and information regarding all illegal border crossings, relocation efforts, and how asylum claims are being processed. This followed another letter from the nation's governors laying out actions you could carry out to being securing the border and restricting the flow of illegal crossings into our country. If this isn't much more about her, I'll stop. But yeah, this is good to see this, that they're at least using this to help with border control. Let's see how much more they talk about her. Frankly, Mr. President, your continued silence in response to these reasonable requests is outrageous. The American people deserve to know who's illegally entering our country due to your administration's failures and what risks and challenges every state must now face. Today, I renew those requests and additionally request answers to the following questions specifically related to Laken Riley's murder. Here we go. Why was my administration not made aware of the asylum claims and subsequent release of an illegal resident who presented fraudulent identification? What is the current immigration status of Jose Antonio Ibarra, and why was this information not relayed to my administration? What additional information does your administration possess regarding these individuals and the circumstances surrounding their entry into the country? While media reports surrounding this case have relied on sources and leaks from your own federal agencies, the answers to these basic questions must be provided publicly as soon as possible to ensure state and local officials have the information we need in order to keep our communities safe. I agree with all this. These tragedies are not unique to Georgia. While we will continue to support Texas with National Guard resources as we have since 2019, federal actions to secure the border is not the only way to holistically address this ongoing crisis and ensure Laken Riley's horrible fate is not replicated across the country. However, if you continue to refuse to exercise your authority as president, your administration must provide the information necessary for Georgia and other states to protect our citizens. The Honorable Joseph R. Biden, February 24, 2024. Sincerely, Brian Kemp, Governor. And then he's got everybody signing off on it. So there we go. We made it through that. I think that was great. I hope you guys like that content today. I tried to talk about the crime and incorporate politics into it without going too far. I do think they did justice with that letter, and I hope the family is proud to see that at least the murder of their daughter can bring some sense of justice. I don't know. I don't know how Biden's going to respond. I don't know if he's going to come back and have a press conference about it. I have a feeling that he will. This is a true crime channel, so unless it has to do with her murder, I probably won't come back with that. Everybody, I love every one of you. I wish my internet was working better. I really want to chat with you all and get into it. But right now, for some reason, the bars on the internet aren't very well. My headphones aren't working. But I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on my live. Again, this is Jay with Guilty of Crime, and I will be back very soon. Don't forget, Friday, 6 p.m., we're going to do a deep dive on Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and we're also going to see what's next for both of them. And I'm going to show you the tangled web that they weaved, and I'm going to have images to show you who's connected to what. 5 husbands, a husband, a wife, another husband, wife, people being killed, who's connected to what, sons, daughters, all that. Love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jay, Guilty of Crime, and I'll see you all soon. Have a good night.